Hello everyone, do you remember me, Andrea from St. Michael's Church? I'm missing people. Are you missing people? Your friends at school? Maybe even the people in the church you see on Sunday? I'm missing you. So I'm using this as an excuse to think of you and also to read a story to you. The story we've all been thinking about in the last few weeks, the Easter story. Would you like to listen? So here it is, the story of Easter, with the pictures drawn by Jackie Morris, and Mary Joslin put the words together from stories in the Bible, because this story is starting way before Easter. The story of Easter is about God and people and the friendship between them. It begins in the very beginning, when God made heaven and earth. At that time, God created a garden, a paradise garden, for the first man and the first woman. They were God's friends, and they knew nothing about bad things. Everything was very, very good. Then, one day, they chose to know about bad things. The world became a cruel place. Their friendship with God was broken. Hundreds of years later, thousands of years later, people on earth longed to be close to God again, and God wanted to bless them. One day, an angel visited a young woman called Mary. The angel Gabriel said to her, "Peace be with you. God has chosen you to bear a son. You will name him Jesus. He will be called the Son of God." As the angel talked, Mary began to understand. "I will do as God wants," she agreed. About that time, an order came from the emperor in Rome. Everyone had to go to their hometown and register to pay his taxes. Mary travelled to Bethlehem with her husband-to-be Joseph. The town was so crowded with travellers, so the couple had to shelter in a stable. There, Mary's baby was born. On the hills nearby, shepherds were guarding their sheep. Suddenly, an angel appeared in the night sky, shining with all the brightness of heaven. "Do not be afraid," said the angel. "I bring good news. A child has been born in Bethlehem, the one God has chosen to rescue all the world. You will find him wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger." All at once, the sky was filled with angels singing praise to God. Then they vanished back into heaven. "Let's go to Bethlehem," said the shepherds. "We must find out if any of this is true." And they found Mary and Joseph and the baby, just as the angels had said. Jesus grew up to be a good and obedient son. The people of Nazareth, where he lived, knew him simply as the local carpenter. Then, when Jesus was about 30, he became a preacher and a healer. Crowds gathered to listen to him. Is anyone here poor or unhappy or downtrodden? He asked. Does anyone think they're not good enough to please God? Here's good news. God will bless you. You can be part of the kingdom of God. Is there anyone here who is rich and important? Anyone who thinks they already have the good things in life? Beware. If you forget to live as God wants, in the end you will be left with nothing. Jesus' preaching was not popular in Nazareth. Soon he had to make his home in nearby Capernaum on the shore of Lake Galilee. He preached to the crowds there and made friends with some of the local fishermen. One day he borrowed a boat as a place from which to preach. When he had finished, he spoke to the owner, Simon. "Push your boat further out and let the nets down." "It will be a waste of time," replied Simon. "We fished all night and caught nothing." Even so, he did what Jesus asked. At once the nets were so full of fish that Simon and his friends struggled to land them. "Don't be so amazed," said Jesus. "It's a sign. Leave your job of catching fish. Follow me and help me gather people instead." The men came at once. One day, mothers came with their children. "We want Jesus to bless them," they explained. "Our master is too busy," said Jesus' friends. "I'm not too busy," said Jesus. "Let the children come to me. Don't try to stop them. They're welcome in God's kingdom." Indeed, Jesus welcomed all kinds of people, children and old people, women and men, rich and poor, strong and weak. He healed many who were sick. He taught all his listeners how to live as God's friends. Love God above all. Be faithful and obedient. Love one another. Do good to everyone, even those who hate you. Pray for the people who treat you badly. Forgive one another, and God will forgive you. Many people believed what he said and became his devoted followers. All the while, the religious leaders were growing uneasy. "Who is this Jesus?" they asked. "All people follow him. We're not sure that his teaching is correct. We're not sure that he respects God's law, the laws we try so hard to teach people." "I saw him break the law about the Sabbath," said one. "It's meant to be a day of rest, but he healed a man right in the middle of the Sabbath meeting." "That's wicked," they all agreed. They did not want to believe that his power to heal came from God. Instead, they plotted to get rid of him. Their chance came when Jesus was in Jerusalem for the great festival called Passover. One of Jesus' friends told the religious leaders where they could find him all alone. Jesus was praying in an olive grove named Gethsemane when soldiers arrived to arrest him. The religious leaders accused him of being disrespectful to God, but that was not enough to condemn him. They took him to the Roman governor in Jerusalem, Pontius Pilate. "The people treat him like a king. He deserves to be executed," they claimed. Pilate was not convinced, but crowds outside his palace were noisy and angry. "Crucify him," they shouted. Pilate handed Jesus over to the soldiers. On a hill outside the city, they nailed him to a cross. Two other men were crucified at the same time. One of them joined the angry crowds in jeering at Jesus. "Aren't you the God's chosen one then?" he said. "Jesus Christ, our Messiah? Save yourself if you are, and save us too." "Leave him alone," cried the other man. "He's done nothing wrong. We are criminals and we know it." Then he spoke to Jesus. "Remember me when you come as king." "I promise," said Jesus, "that you will be in paradise with me today." Round about noon the sun stopped shining and the sky went as dark as night. Jesus called out to God, "Father, in your hands I place my spirit." Then he died. A wealthy man named Joseph went and asked Pilate for Jesus' body. He and his helpers wrapped it in a linen sheet. They carried it to a tomb cut into solid rock and placed it inside. The sun was setting. The Sabbath day of rest was about to begin. Hurriedly, they rolled the stone door shut and went away. The day after Sabbath was Sunday. Early in the morning, some women went to the tomb. They wanted to prepare the body properly for the burial. To their amazement, the stone door had been rolled aside. Jesus' body had gone. As they stood there wondering what to do, two people in bright, shining clothes appeared. "Why are you looking among the dead for someone who is alive?" asked the angels. "He's not here. He has risen to life." Over the next few days, Jesus appeared many times to his followers. He explained everything to them. From the beginning, people had chosen the wrong path, and it had led to suffering. Jesus had come from God to the very heart of human suffering and died in agony. By rising again, he had shown the world the power of God's love, the love that welcomes people into heaven as God's friends once again.